Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at subtracting mixed numbers. First thing that we need to do is look at the denominator of the fraction part and subtract the fractions first. Here we need to find a common denominator because here we see 4 and 8 as our two denominators. So the first thing we're going to do is convert to a common denominator. 4 times 2 would equal 8, which is the least common multiple of the two denominators. The other denominator will remain the same, 5/8. We're going to multiply the numerator also by 2 so that we form an equivalent fraction with this common denominator. So 3/4 will become 3 times 2 is 6/8. Now we can compare the numerators or subtract the numerators. 6/8 minus 5/8 would be the same as 6 minus 5/8, which will leave us with 1/8. We also need to subtract the whole numbers. 4 minus 2 is 2, so our answer would be a combination of the whole numbers and the proper fraction remaining. So if we bring our 1/8 over here, I will erase the top part, bring our 1/8 over, we have 2 and 1/8. Now if we do the same and we look at some circle figures, here you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and then 3 out of 4 parts, or 3/4 of another one. And we're going to take away 1, 2, and 5/8. The first thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to change my 3/4 into 8ths. So each fourth would actually be divided into 2 more parts, which would then, you can see, give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8. And when we take away 5/8, I'm just going to place this over the top. We'll bring this to the front. Order, bring to front. I'm going to place this over the top. And then I'm also going to ungroup, and we'll take one of these pieces here and rotate it so you can see how much space it's actually taking up, and we have 1/8 remaining there. When I put these 2 over the top, these are taking away. We can count now how much green is left over. So we have 1, 2, and then 1/8 of another one. So our answer is 2 and 1/8. Sometimes with subtraction we have to rename or regroup. That means that in this one we don't have any eighths. So this would be the same as having 0/8. And we can't do 0 minus 5. That doesn't work. So what we need to do is we're going to have to borrow from this whole number right over here. We have 4 whole parts. So if you watch my shape, what I'm going to do is actually divide it up into eighths, since that's my denominator. So how many eighths are out of 1 whole? Well, we would have 8/8. So I'm just kind of breaking that one up into eighths. But remember now, I only actually have 1, 2, 3 holes, and then 8/8. So when I look over at my problem, again, instead of having 4, I actually am going to rename this as 3, and then I'm going to take one of those and make it into 8/8. Now I can subtract my fractions. 8 minus 5/8, and 3 minus 2 is 1. 8 minus 5 is equal to 3/8. And I have 1 whole left over. So now if I put the shapes on top to show my subtraction taking place, so I'm going to order these to the front and bring this one to the front, and I'll bring this figure to the front as well. Now I'm just going to place them over the top, and we'll count and see how many we have remaining. Now we're only counting the green. How many do we have left? Well, we have 1 hole here, And it looks like we have 3/8 here. 1 and then 1, 2, 3/8. So you can see that 4 minus 2 and 5/8 is equal to 1 and 3/8. Finally, our next part of the lesson. Subtracting the mixed numbers in which we have to regroup because our fraction still isn't big enough to subtract. So right here, we're trying to take 1/8 and subtract 3/4. Well, 1/8 is not enough to take away 3/4. You can clearly see that by looking at these pictures. We cannot take 3/4 from this little piece. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually break up one of my wholes. I'm going to borrow or rename a whole again. And I'm going to do that by dividing it into eighths. Well, how many eighths is it going to be equal to? It's equal to 8 of them because it's one whole. 8/8. But we actually have 1/8 here. So how many do we have in all now? We would have 9/8. So when you rename the 3, it becomes a 2, and we're going to add 8 more eighths to this one. So our new problem would be 2 and 9/8 minus 1 and 3/4 is actually 6/8. If I divide it into eighths, again you can see. Now I can subtract. 9 minus 6 is 3. So I have 3/8, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So I should get 1 and 3/8. Let's look back at my figures. Alright, when I place this figure over the top of my green figure, well, I better bring it to front. We can see there are 1, 2, 3/8 remaining. And when I place this figure over the top of my green figure, I have 1 whole. So my answer would be 1 and 3/8. Is that what I got? Yes, it is. All right, well, I hope this helped you out. Thanks.